I'm Juniper Voss, 30 years old, a graphic designer who thought my Chicago loft was my sanctuary. But after 6 months freelancing in Singapore, I unlocked my door and stepped into a betrayal that hit like a punch to the gut. Pink balloons crowded my loft, garish and out of place, floating like they owned the air. Confetti clung to my boots, and a toddler's squeal rang out as he smeared icing across my hardwood floor. A stranger, some lady with a loud laugh and tacky earrings, shoved a plastic cup of punch into my hand, acting like I was just another partygoer. My portfolio bag hit the floor. 50 people I didn't know filled my living room, laughing, toasting, treating my home like a cheap event hall. And there, lounging on my velvet couch like royalty, was my sister, Linda, 7 months pregnant, tearing into gift boxes with a smirk that screamed victory. She looked up, saw me, and let out a sharp laugh. "Juniper, I figured you'd moved out for good." Moved out? My name was on every lease payment. I'd kept the lights on, the Wi-Fi running, all from across the globe. My pulse raced, but I held back. Not yet. Have you ever walked into your own home and felt invisible? Like the people who should have your back decided you're nothing? Drop your story in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone. Because what I saw next froze me. Solid. My sketchbooks, filled with years of designs, were gone. My grandmother's locket, my lucky charm for every client pitch, lay in a trash pile by the door with a note, "Donate." My paints, my easel, replaced by stacks of diapers and a gaudy balloon arch. My mother glided through the crowd, her smile tight and cold. No welcome, no warmth. She tossed me her jacket and hissed, "Don't ruin Linda's moment, Juniper." Her moment? I'd been erased from my own life, and I was the problem? I hung the jacket, walked to my bedroom, now a baby gift warehouse, and shut the door. Laughter pulsed through the walls, celebrating a future that didn't include me. I sat on the bare mattress, staring at the scuffed floor. 50 strangers cheered for my sister while my world was dismantled piece by piece. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, but something inside me broke, clean and sharp. That night, after the last guest stumbled out, leaving my loft stinking of punch and baby powder, I made a call. A locksmith was coming. New locks, new beginning. What happened next will leave you speechless. My sister, my mother, they thought they could steal my home, my peace, my life. They didn't know the fire they'd lit. Stick with me, because in the next part, I'll show you how I took it all back, and then some. Please like, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. Because 2 days later, they came back. And they didn't just find new locks. They met a Juniper they'd never seen before. I stood in my bedroom, the door closed, the baby shower's noise still buzzing through the walls. My hands shook as I gripped the edge of the bare mattress, trying to make sense of the chaos beyond. I pushed the door open, stepping back into my loft. The pink balloons bobbed mockingly, and the stench of punch clung to the air. I scanned the room, my eyes catching on the details I'd missed in my shock. My vintage record player, the one I saved for months to buy, was shoved in a corner, a stack of baby bottles teetering on top. My framed prints, sketches I'd poured my soul into, were gone, replaced by glittery "It's a Girl" banners. I moved to the bookshelf, or what was left of it. Empty shelves stared back, except for a single sticky note in Linda's loopy handwriting. "Redesigned for the baby. You're welcome." My stomach twisted. Redesigned? This wasn't her Pinterest board. It was my home. I opened a drawer, expecting my pens and sketch pads. Instead, I found pacifiers and tiny socks. My journals, pages of ideas and dreams, were nowhere. I tore through the loft, heart pounding, until I found a trash bag by the front door. Inside, my grandmother's locket glinted under crumpled gift wrap, tossed aside like junk. I clutched the locket, its worn silver cold against my palm. It was the one thing I'd kept close since I was 16, when Gran slipped it into my hand and said, "You're stronger than you know." Now it was in a trash bag, marked "Donate." My sister hadn't just used my space, she'd tried to erase me. I sank to the floor, the bag in my lap, and felt rage bubble up, hot and sharp. My mother's voice cut through the haze. "Juniper, stop rummaging. You'll make a mess." She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her eyes flicking over me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. I stood, the locket tight in my fist. "A mess? You threw out my life." Her lips pursed, that same old look of disappointment. "Linda's pregnant. She needed the space. You were gone." Gone? I'd been working, building my career, paying for this loft while they turned it into a nursery? I walked to the kitchen where my dishes, vintage plates I'd hunted for at flea markets, were stacked with half-eaten cake. A guest bumped into me, mumbling an apology, but I barely heard. My eyes landed on another note, taped to the fridge. "Juniper's stuff moved to storage. Baby needs room." Linda's handwriting again, smug and final. I ripped it off, crumpling it in my hand. Storage? They hadn't asked, hadn't called. They'd just decided I didn't belong. I turned to Linda, still on my couch, laughing with her friends. "You threw out my locket," I said, voice low. She rolled her eyes, tossing her hair. "Oh, come on, Juniper. It's just an old thing. We needed space for the baby." Just an old thing. My chest burned, but I didn't scream. I walked back to my bedroom, shut the door, and pulled out my phone. I Googled 24-hour locksmith Chicago. My hands were steady now. They thought they could rewrite my life. They were wrong. The party wound down, guests trickling out. I waited, silent, as the loft emptied. Linda called out, "See you at Mom's for brunch, Juniper," like nothing had happened, like I was still their doormat. I didn't answer. The locksmith arrived at midnight. As he worked, I stood by the window, the city lights flickering below. I felt something shift inside me. Not just anger, but clarity. They'd crossed a line, and I was drawing one of my own. The locksmith's drill hummed as I stood by the window, the Chicago skyline glowing like a promise. My loft, still reeking of punch and betrayal, was about to become mine again. I hung up with the locksmith and dialed my landlord, Mike, at 1 a.m. He answered, groggy but kind. "Juniper, you okay?" I cut to the chase. "Did anyone try to sublet my loft or change the lease?" A pause. Then, "No. Your name's on everything. Rent's paid. Why?" I told him about the baby shower, the trashed locket, the notes claiming my space for Linda's baby. His voice hardened. "You're the sole tenant. Change the locks if you want. It's your right." I exhaled, relief mixing with resolve. The locks were just the start. I walked through the loft, stepping over confetti, and started packing. Pink streamers, baby bottles, that gaudy balloon arch. Everything went into boxes. I dragged them to the hallway, stacking them neatly outside my door. My hands moved fast, fueled by a fire I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just about stuff. It was about my life. By dawn, the loft looked hollow, but mine. I found my phone and opened the family group chat. My fingers typed, steady and sure. This loft is no longer available for use. Your items are in the hallway. Do not enter. I mean it. I hit send, then silence notifications. The screen stayed dark for 10 minutes. Then it exploded texts, calls, voicemails. I didn't read them. I didn't need to. I knew what they'd say. Juniper, how could you? Linda's pregnant. Be reasonable. I wasn't listening. I called a storage company to haul away the boxes, then sat at my kitchen counter, the one place they hadn't touched. My laptop glowed as I searched for answers. That's when I found it. A text from my cousin, Mia, sent days ago. Linda told me she's subletting your place to a friend. Said you're never coming back. Check your lease. My blood ran cold. Subletting? Illegally? I called Mike again. He confirmed no sublet paperwork existed. Linda had lied, banking on my absence to take over. I gripped my grandmother's locket, now back around my neck. Its weight grounded me. I wasn't the girl who'd left for Singapore, quiet and accommodating. I'd built a career, a name, a life. They thought they could erase that. They were wrong. I opened my banking app, staring at the balance. My inheritance, $75,000 from Dad, untouched since he passed. Mom had called it frivolous to use it. Linda had laughed, saying I had wasted. But I knew its purpose now. I booked a cleaning crew for the next day. Every trace of that party, every smudge, every scent would be gone. I emailed a lawyer friend, Sarah, asking about tenant rights and illegal sublets. She replied in minutes. You're in the clear. Want to send a cease and desist for the sublet attempt? I smiled. Not yet, but soon. I stood, surveying my loft. It was bare, but it was mine. The city hummed outside, alive and waiting. Linda's voice echoed in my head. I thought you moved out. Let her think that. Let them all think they'd won, because what came next wasn't just a locked door. It was a line in the sand drawn with fire. And I was just getting started. The new locks gleamed on my door, a quiet promise that my Chicago loft was mine again. But as I sipped coffee at my kitchen counter, my phone lit up with a storm I knew was coming. The group chat erupted first. Linda's text came fast, all caps. Juniper, what the hell? Where's my stuff? Mom followed, her words dripping guilt. This is cruel. Your sister's pregnant. I didn't reply. I'd said my piece. But then the voicemail started. Linda's voice, fake sweet, begging to talk. I deleted them, my hands steady. I wasn't falling for it. Not this time. By noon, they were at my door. I heard the pounding through the walls, Linda's voice shrill. Open up, Juniper. You can't do this. I peeked through the peephole. Mom stood there, clutching her purse, her face twisted with indignation. Linda leaned against the wall, fanning herself dramatically. Her fiancé, Greg, jiggled the doorknob, his face red. I froze. He wasn't just knocking. He was trying to pick the lock. My heart raced. I grabbed my phone, opened the building security app, and hit record. The camera caught everything. I called security. There's a disturbance outside my unit, I said, voice calm but firm. Within minutes, boots echoed in the hallway. A guard's voice cut through. You need to leave, now. Linda wailed, This is my sister's place. We belong here. I almost laughed. Belong? They'd trashed my life and called it decorating. The guard didn't budge. They left, but I knew it wasn't over. My phone buzzed again. A text from my cousin Mia. Heads up, Linda's posting on Facebook saying you're unhinged, that Singapore messed you up. I opened the app. There it was. a public post with a photo of Linda, teary-eyed, cradling her belly. My sister locked us out of her apartment after everything we did for her. Pray for her. She's not herself. Comments poured in. That's awful. She needs help. My jaw clenched. They were painting me as the villain, twisting my stand into insanity. I called Mia. "They're lying," I said, my voice low. She sighed. "I know, but they're telling everyone you stole their stuff, even Mom's pearl earrings." I laughed, bitter. Those earrings were in Mom's purse, left in the hallway. They weren't stolen, they were just inconvenient. Mia paused. "Be careful, Juniper. They're not done." I hung up, my mind racing. They weren't just fighting for access. They wanted control. That evening, my Uncle Dan called, his lawyer voice smooth and patronizing. "Juniper, your mother's heartbroken. Can't you compromise? Family forgives." I closed my eyes. "Dan, did they tell you they threw out my locket, tried to sublet my loft behind my back?" Silence. Then, "Well, mistakes happen. Linda's under stress." Stress? I'd been in Singapore, pitching to clients, paying for this loft while they played house. I cut him off. I'm done being their doormat. I hung up. I stood by my window, the city lights steady below. My grandmother's locket hung heavy around my neck. They thought they could guilt me, shame me, break me, but every lie, every post, every knock only made me stronger. I wasn't just locking them out, I was locking myself in to my life, my rules. And what I did next, it wasn't just about keeping them out. It was about building something they could never touch. The city lights flickered outside my loft, but inside, I felt a spark of something new. My family's lies. Linda's Facebook posts, Mom's guilt trips hadn't broken me. They'd lit a fire. I sat at my kitchen counter, my laptop open, the screen glowing with numbers. My inheritance, $75,000 from Dad, locked away since I was 22, stared back at me. Mom had called it reckless to spend. Linda had scoffed, saying I'd blow it on artsy nonsense. But now, with my grandmother's locket back around my neck, I knew exactly what to do. I wasn't just reclaiming my loft. I was building a fortress. I called a real estate agent the next morning. The condo below mine, a sleek 3-bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows, had just hit the market. It was pricier than I'd planned, but my savings plus Dad's money made it possible. I toured it that afternoon, my boots echoing on the polished concrete floors. The space felt like a blank canvas, mine to paint. I signed the papers by dusk, my heart racing with a thrill I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just a home, it was a statement. Next, I turned to my loft. I contacted a property manager, listing it as a short-term corporate rental. No families, no parties, strict policies, $6,500 a month. Within 48 hours, a tech startup leased it for their visiting execs. I smiled as I signed the contract. The place Linda had treated like her personal venue was now a locked vault, generating income she'd never touch. Every dollar felt like a brick in the wall I was building between me and them. The cleaning crew came the next day. They scrubbed the confetti from the cracks, erased the punch stains, and hauled away the last traces of that baby shower. I replaced the velvet couch with a sleek gray one, hung new prints of my designs, and set my easel by the window. My loft breathed again, alive with my colors, my vision. I stood in the center, the locket warm against my skin, and felt my shoulders loosen. This was mine, I needed to celebrate, not for them, but for me. I planned a private art showcase, inviting 10 friends for my design circle. No family, no drama, just people who saw me. I hung my best sketches, lit candles, and played soft jazz. The night was warm, the city humming outside. My friend Claire raised a glass. To Juniper, who built this? I smiled, my chest light. For the first time in months, I wasn't fighting to be seen. I was seen. Linda's texts kept coming, ignored but persistent. "We need to talk, Juniper. You can't just lock us out." I didn't reply. Mom called, her voice sharp. "You're being selfish. Think of your sister." I hung up mid-sentence. Their words didn't sting anymore. They were noise, not truth. Mia texted later. "They're furious about the rental. Linda said you're profiting off her hard work." I laughed. Her hard work? Throwing a party in my home? I set my phone down, the jazz filling the silence. I walked to my easel, sketching the skyline as the night deepened. The thrill wasn't just the new condo or the rental cash. It was knowing I'd turned their betrayal into my triumph. They'd tried to erase me, but I was painting my life louder than ever. And I wasn't done. What I did next wasn't about revenge. It was about showing them who I'd become, someone they'd never control again. The jazz from my art showcase lingered in my loft, a soft hum against the Chicago skyline. My friends' laughter had faded, but the warmth of their support stayed, grounding me like the weight of my grandmother's locket. I stood by the window, my new condo's lease papers on the counter. The loft upstairs, now a corporate rental, was a fortress my family couldn't breach. But their texts kept coming, a relentless buzz. Linda's latest, "You can't keep our stuff, Juniper. That's theft." Mom's, "This isn't you. Stop this nonsense." I didn't reply. Their words were darts, but they no longer pierced. I'd locked them out, not just from my home, but from my peace. The next morning, I sorted through the last of their baby shower remnants. Diapers, a bassinet, that tacky balloon arch. I could have sold them, tossed them, let them rot in storage. Instead, I called a local women's shelter. "I have donations," I said. "Baby supplies, all new." The coordinator's voice brightened. "You're a godsend. We're stretched thin." I loaded the items into my car, every box a weight lifted. By noon, I dropped them off, the shelter staff smiling as they unpacked. A young mother, barely 20, clutched a pack of diapers, her eyes wet. "Thank you," she whispered. I nodded, my throat tight. This wasn't just about clearing my space. It was about giving someone else a start. Back home, I felt lighter, but not done. I grabbed my camera, walked through my loft, and filmed a tour. The new gray couch gleamed under soft light. My sketches hung proud on the walls. My easel stood by the window, a fresh canvas waiting. I edited the footage, adding a simple caption. "My space, my story." I uploaded it to YouTube, not tagging anyone, not naming names. Just a quiet flex, a declaration. This was mine, and no one could take it. The video went live at 8 p.m. By midnight, my phone pinged with notifications. Friends commented, "Juniper, this is stunning. You're killing it." Then came Linda's text. "You're posting videos now? That's our apartment." I laughed, sharp and low. Our apartment? She'd thrown out my locket, tried to sublet my home. I left her on red. Mom's message followed. "You're humiliating us. Take it down." I didn't. The views climbed, 500, then 1,000. Strangers commented, "This is so inspiring. Love how you reclaimed your space." Each word felt like a brick in my new foundation. I expected their next move. They didn't disappoint. 2 days later, Mia texted, "Heads up, Linda and Greg are coming to your showcase tonight." They're calling it family support. My stomach twisted. Support? They wanted to barge in, reclaim control. I called my building's security. Expect uninvited guests, I said. Don't let them up. The guard Tony chuckled. Got it, Juniper. Your place, your rules. I hung up, my pulse steady. They could try, but they'd hit a wall. That night, my showcase glowed. 10 friends, wine glasses in hand, admired my sketches. Claire toasted again. To Juniper's comeback! I smiled, but my eyes flicked to my phone. Security texted at 9:15, 3 people at the desk. Linda, Greg, your mom, claiming they're invited, sent them away. I exhaled, relief washing over me. I pictured them in the lobby, Linda pouting, Greg pacing, Mom clutching her purse. They expected me to cave. Instead, they got silence. I sipped my wine, the jazz swelling. My friends' voices filled the room, their praise real, not laced with guilt. I glanced at my laptop, the YouTube video now at 2,000 views. A commenter wrote, "This feels like freedom." It did. I'd outsmarted them, not with shouting matches, but with moves they couldn't counter. The shelter donation, the video, the locked door, it was all deliberate, clean, final. They'd wanted my space, my peace. I gave them nothing but their own reflection, but I knew them. Silence wasn't surrender. Linda's next text came at midnight. You think you're clever? We're not done. I didn't flinch. Clever? No. I was just done being their pawn. My fingers traced the locket, its silver warm. I'd turned their chaos into my strength, their betrayal into my victory. And the next step? It wasn't about them anymore. It was about me, building something unbreakable. The Chicago skyline glittered outside my new condo, a quiet witness to the war I'd been fighting. My loft upstairs, now a corporate rental, hummed with the tech startup's energy, untouchable by my family's grasp. Their texts had stopped after the art showcase, but the silence felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. I sat at my desk, sketching a new design, the locket around my neck a steady anchor. My YouTube video, My Space, My Story, had hit 5,000 views. Comments poured in. You're an inspiration. This is what standing up looks like. Each one felt like a nod to the Juniper I'd become. But I knew Linda and Mom weren't done. They never were. The mail arrived that afternoon, a thick envelope with no return address. I opened it, expecting a bill. Instead, a typed letter on fake legal letterhead stared back. Notice of demand, immediate release of Daniel's family property. It listed the baby shower items, bassinet, balloons, even Mom's missing earrings. The words theft and legal action jumped out, bold and desperate. My pulse quickened. They were trying to scare me, to claw back control with lies. I laughed, sharp and cold. Theft? I donated everything to the women's shelter, receipts saved, every move legal. I forwarded the letter to Sarah, my lawyer friend. She called within the hour. This is nonsense, Juniper. No legal weight. Want to hit back? I nodded, though she couldn't see. Send a cease and desist for the fake notice and the sublet attempt. Sarah's voice crackled with excitement. Done. I'll have it delivered tomorrow. I hung up, my hands steady. They thought they could bully me with paper. They didn't know I was playing chess, not checkers. That night, I sat with my sketchbook, the one I'd kept since I was 12. Its pages held doodles from summers with Linda, when we'd draw under Grand's oak tree, dreaming of art school. Those girls were gone, buried under years of her entitlement and my silence. I flipped to a sketch of us, 2 kids laughing, carefree. My chest ached, not with anger, but with something softer, sadder. I tore the page out, folded it carefully. It wasn't mine anymore. It was theirs, a relic of a bond they'd broken. The next morning, I drove to Linda's new apartment, a small unit in Evanston she'd moved into with Greg. I didn't call, didn't text. I left the sketchbook on her doorstep, a note taped to the cover. For the sister I used to know, this is the last piece of me you get. I didn't knock. I didn't wait. I drove back, the city blurring past, my heart lighter, but not free. It wasn't about hurting them. It was about letting go. 2 days later, Tony, the security guard, texted, "Your mom was here. Just stood in the lobby holding a book. Looked lost." I checked the building's camera footage. There she was, clutching the sketchbook, her face pale, eyes glassy. She didn't yell, didn't demand entry. She just stared at the camera, then turned and left. My throat tightened. For the first time, I saw her not as the enemy, but as a woman grasping at control she'd lost. I felt pity, sharp and fleeting. Then it passed. Linda's final text came that night. "You win, Juniper. Keep your stupid loft." I stared at the words. Win? This wasn't a game. It was my life. I didn't reply. The silence wasn't anger. It was closure. I'd stood firm, not just against their lies, but against the part of me that once bent to their will. Sarah's cease and desist landed the next day. No response came. They knew they lost. I walked to my easel, the city humming below. My sketchbook lay open, a new design taking shape. A woman, fierce, holding a locket, standing tall. It was me. Not the girl they tried to erase, but the woman I built from their wreckage. The relief wasn't loud or triumphant. It was quiet, like the moment you realize you're free. The morning sun spilled into my new condo, painting the walls with light. I stood at my easel, my latest sketch, a woman, holding a locket, fierce and free, drying in the quiet. My loft upstairs, now a corporate rental, hummed with new life. The tech startups execs moved in, their briefcases and coffee cups a world away from Linda's pink balloons. My family's silence had held since Mom's last visit, clutching that sketchbook in the lobby. I'd won, not by shouting, but by building a life they couldn't touch. Yet, as I sipped coffee, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Auntie Juniper, it's Lily. I miss you. Can I see you?" My niece, Linda's daughter, just 6 years old. My heart clenched. Lily's face, gap-toothed, curious, flashed in my mind. I saw her at Grand's oak tree, giggling as we drew together. For a moment, I wanted to reply, to drive to Evanston, to hug her tight. But then I remembered Linda's smirk, Mom's cold stare, the locket in the trash. Lily wasn't the problem, but her mother was. I typed, "Sweetie, you're in my heart always. I'll see you soon, okay?" I hit send, then blocked the number. Not out of anger, but peace. Forgiveness didn't mean opening the door again. I turned to my condo, its clean lines and open windows a canvas of my own. I'd planned a community art pop-up here, not for clients or clout, but for Chicago's young artists, the ones like me at 20, dreaming big but feeling small. The event was tonight. Local creators, their sketches and sculptures filling my space. I hung fairy lights, set out wine, and arranged my own work. That fierce woman, her locket gleaming. The room felt alive, like it held my breath, my fight, my joy. At 7 p.m., the pop-up buzzed. 20 artists, some shy, some bold, shared their stories. A girl named Maya, 22, touched my sketch. "This feels like me, like I can keep going," she said, eyes bright. I nodded, my throat tight. "You can. You will." I saw myself in her. The juniper who left for Singapore, chasing a dream while her family tried to erase her. I'd fought for this space, not just for me, but for anyone who needed a place to stand tall. As the night wound down, I stepped onto my balcony. The city sparkled below, a quiet applause. I thought of Lily, of the sketchbook I'd left on Linda's doorstep. I'd forgiven them, not for their sake, but for mine. Letting go wasn't weakness, it was power. I'd learned something simple, something true. Your life is yours to build, no matter who tries to tear it down. You don't need their permission to shine. You just need your own. I looked at my phone, the YouTube video now at 10,000 views. Comments poured in. "This changed how I see myself. Thank you for showing us strength." I smiled. This story wasn't just mine anymore. It was for every artist, every dreamer, every soul who'd felt erased. Hold your ground, I wanted to tell them. Paint your life in colors only you can choose. Please like, share this video, and subscribe to my channel to motivate me to create even better stories for you. Your support keeps this journey alive, because this isn't the end. It's a beginning for me, for Maya, for anyone who chooses themselves. I walked back inside, the pop-up still humming. Maya laughed with another artist, her sketch glowing under the lights. I touched my locket, its silver warm. The city hummed beyond, and in that soft, steady quiet, I heard my own breath. Free, whole, mine.